What's going on, friends and theme park fans? This is Silver Stix here for another Stix Top 6, where I count down the best and worst that theme parks have to offer. Today's episode is actually a follow-up to the last video in this series, the top 6 best attractions in Universal Studios Hollywood. So as you could tell by the title, or assume for yourself, today we'll be going in the opposite direction and checking out the quote-unquote worst attractions Universal Studios Hollywood has to offer. And I say quote-unquote because none of these attractions are necessarily bad by any means, and I still go on them from time to time, for instance. These are just the ones that I feel if you have a minimum amount of time to get an entire day of fun in throughout the park, then these attractions aren't going to bring you down if you have to skip over them. I really need to specify that this list is made up of just my opinions, just like all my other videos. They're just for fun, and they're just to share my thoughts on the parks. I'm not a critic at all, I'm just a theme park fan like everyone else, and I mean absolutely no harm at all if your favorite rides appear on the quote-unquote worst list. Again, this is all just for fun. So with all that out of the way, let's all sit back and chill as we count down the top 6 worst, quote-unquote, Universal Studios Hollywood attractions. Kicking off our list today, we have a slightly controversial choice, and that's the Simpsons ride. Opened on May 19th, 2008. And before anyone comments and says, well hey, you put the Simpsons ride at number 6 on your top 6 best Universal Studios Orlando rides list. How you gonna say it's good, then put it on the worst list? Come on, Stixy, how you gonna play with my heart like that? Just calm down, okay? Again, these are the rides in Universal Studios Hollywood only that don't hold up in comparison to others in this park only. And truthfully, Simpsons doesn't really hold up. Nowadays you got Transformers or even King Kong, or dare I say Fast and Furious, because they are connected to the already amazing studio tour. I personally think the walk-around area of Springfield is insanely immersive and way better than Orlando. It genuinely feels like you're inside of the cartoon, but the ride is exactly the same thing. It's still just your slightly below average IMAX screen ride that a lot of people do end up getting sick on. Even in my Orlando video, I did mention that this ride needs an update badly. Especially over in Hollywood, because when you start to stack up the Simpsons ride to something like the DreamWorks Theater featuring Kung Fu Panda, for instance, you start to seriously realize the potential in upgrading these old rides, and considering Hollywood is usually the patient zero for new ideas put into place in the parks, what a better spot to try a new and improved Simpsons ride before expanding over to Orlando. Don't get me wrong, I still love the video for this ride, and I'm a huge Simpsons fan, so really anything related to them is a total guilty pleasure of mine to begin with, but simply, this attraction needs a revamp badly, in some form or capacity. And again, don't get me wrong, I really still like this ride, but if it received a nice overhaul, I could see the Simpsons ride rising back to popularity with full force. But until then, it earns its spot at number 6. Next up, we'll be taking a ride through Hagrid's Pumpkin Patch to take on the Flight of the Hippogriff, opened April 7th, 2016, in the wizarding world of Harry Potter. This ride is a duplicate to the one we have in Orlando. Truthfully, it's just nothing special. Other than the impressive Buckbeak animatronic, this is just your average junior steel coaster that ends up being pretty forgettable. I guess fun fact about it, it was the first ever outdoor coaster for Universal Studios Hollywood, so that's kind of a cool achievement, I guess. But there's really just not much I can say about this ride. It only lasts a minute and 6 seconds, so it's hardly worth the wait. However, the wait is usually pretty short, so take that with a grain of salt, I guess. This ride has a max speed of 28.5 miles per hour and a max height of 42 feet in the air, so for younger audiences or less experienced riders, this could be a good introduction to coasters in general. However, for mass audiences, Flight of the Hippogriff is just fairly generic and skippable, which is a shame because the animatronic is genuinely cool. Alrighty, so this next one is another super controversial choice. Honestly, at this point that should just be expected because of the title of this video, but I really feel I need to stress that. But anyway, folks, number 4 on our list today is the Jurassic World Raptor Encounter. And this takes a spot on the list simply because I just have to compare it to the same attraction in Orlando, which I personally feel is done simply better. I'm sorry. In Hollywood, the entire quote-unquote raptor encounter is more of a show scene than an encounter. You watch behind a rope as a raptor trainer a la Chris Pratt's character Owen from the movie guides out the raptor and slowly brings them off their leash until you're able to take a photo like 5 feet away from them. Whereas in Orlando, there's not much of a show, but you do get to walk right up to the enormous beast and get your picture taken inches away from it, all while it smells your neck and breathes on you and occasionally shrieks and snaps at you. It's insanely realistic. And the entire experience just feels way more like what an actual raptor encounter would be like, more so than over in Hollywood. Now don't get me wrong, both raptor encounters have their positives and negatives, but the Hollywood version is definitely just an attraction you shouldn't be too upset about missing out on. Also, I'm sure there are people who will say, this isn't an attraction, it's a character meet and greet, but I just have to disagree with that. These raptor encounters really are something special, and they are still both definitely worth visiting, especially over in Orlando, if you get the chance. Swerving on over to the Super Silly Funland Boardwalk, where we'll be able to catch a flight on the Silly Swirly Fun Ride. Now, I already know I'm going to get hate for this one because, OMG, this ride is for kids only, even though I consider it to be for families, but you know what, you're right. Unfortunately, the only people that will find any enjoyment out of this attraction are little kids. Personally, I feel like since they brought Super Silly Funland to life, they really should have added the big roller coaster that grew in the gorals go on in the movie itself. Kind of a huge missed opportunity if you ask me. I'm sure it has to do with the area constraints and whatnot, but still, kind of a letdown. And it's just a tease to have a backdrop of the roller coaster as sort of scenery for this ride, almost like a what could have been alternate reality screen. A few positives I can mention are the ride itself does have some great theming, with the minion on top and the really colorful bug creature ride carts. It's cute and I like it, and it looks straight out of the movie. And then of course when you're at the maximum height on this ride, you will be able to get a full 360-degree view of Super Silly Funland, and that is a really cool sight to see. Honestly, the way I see it, if you're already visiting Super Silly Funland, checking out the wet zones and searching for all the hidden minions, then maybe take the 15 to 20 minutes out of your day to check out the Silly Swirly Fun Ride. But when it all comes down to it, this is just your average Dumbo ripoff that you could find at any off-the-shelf theme park just to fill in space. It's just so basic and generic that it doesn't even have a point in existing. But on the same hand, it doesn't really have a reason not to exist either. So it's just sort of in our lives. Let's deal with it. Running over to the upper lot, and I guess sticking with the Despicable Me theme, we'll find a ride that also appeared on my top 6 worst Universal Studios Orlando ride list, and that's the 4D adventure, Despicable Me Minion Mayhem. And if you watched that video, then you'll know already that I hold a bit of a bias against this ride because it replaced my favorite attraction in all of Universal Orlando, Jimmy Neutron's Nicktoons Blast. However, in Hollywood, it just replaced Terminator 2, which was great, but it doesn't affect me on any super deep level or anything. But I still can't help but feel like Minion Mayhem remains pretty underwhelming no matter where you are. To give some credit, having a ride time of 8 minutes and having a pretty exceptional queue does make up for the often long wait time, and I'd still recommend this ride if the wait is short enough, or definitely if you're visiting with younger riders, they love it. But overall, in just my opinion alone, the little movie that plays isn't all that interesting to me. I'm not the biggest Minions fan to begin with. I thought the first Despicable Me movie was alright, but I'm definitely not like rushing out to see the sequels or anything. The ride vehicles and mechanics have basically stayed the same since the Funtastic World of Hanna-Barbera back in 1990. So honestly, in the end, this attraction simply doesn't impress me, and I'm always leaving dissatisfied. I know there's a huge amount of fans and defenders of this attraction, especially younger audiences, which is fine. I totally understand where everyone's coming from. It's the same reason I thought Nicktoons Blast was great. But in my opinion alone, Minion Mayhem is definitely not on the top of my priorities list when visiting any of the Universal parks. To finish off our list today, we'll be hanging around in the upper lot where we'll be watching the still kind of sort of fairly newish version of the special effects show. Now, to start off, I've heard a ton of people tell me they loved this show, so for the last time in this video, just in my opinion alone, I'm not a fan of this show at all. There are certainly portions that I can enjoy, like the Man on Fire for instance, but a majority of the show is just simply uninteresting to me personally. Also, there is quite a bit of audience interaction with this show, and that is also definitely not for me. I absolutely do not like being the center of attention, and I also don't like watching other people be the center of attention either. One way or another, there's just people getting less of an experience than others, whereas with something like Universal's Animal Actors show located basically right next to this show, everything is up to chance more or less, and the entire crowd is involved more so than just one person at a time, making for a much more interactive and lively experience. The special effects show does last 25 minutes, so it'll at least entertain you for a while and get you out of the California heat, but overall, there's not much great I can say about this show. In the end, it's just not for me personally. I can certainly see why other people enjoy it, but this is one attraction I don't even consider when I visit the parks, honestly, which is why it easily takes the #1 spot as the quote-unquote worst attraction in all of Universal Studios Hollywood. Alrighty folks, so that's gonna about wrap up my Stix Top 6 Worst Universal Studios Hollywood Attractions. I really hope you all enjoyed the video. If you did, please consider leaving a like, comment, subscribe, and share the video around. It'd mean a lot and help out a ton. As always, leave in the comments what your favorite and least favorite attractions are in Universal Studios Hollywood, or just any theme park topics you'd like to discuss so we can start a conversation down there. But anyway gang, until next time, this is Silver Stix signing out. I hope you have a great rest of your day, theme park fans. Peace.